across the country, especially in the western parts of the country. We are seeing a torrential downpour. There's been massive damage to, unfortunately, life, to property as well. In such a situation, the world of insurance has a product that will safeguard you financially, at least, from anything that the monsoon gods would throw at you. I have with me a special guest, Udayan Joshi, President, Claims and Personal Lines Underwriting with Liberty General Insurance. Udayan, thank you so much for taking out time and joining us today on the show. So, as we approach monsoons, it brings along with it a new set of problems, a new set of diseases as well, in fact, and unfortunately some loss of lives as well. So tell us about how insurance, and first let's talk about only the health insurance bit, and then we can move on to the other insurance products available. What is vector insurance? We understand this is a term that the industry has introduced. What exactly is vector insurance? How does it protect against the worst fury of monsoons and the problems that it brings along with it?
Thanks. Probably this is the most relevant question at this point in time, because monsoons do come with all sorts of these diseases, and typically these are referred to as vector-borne diseases. So, but a typical insurance policy for vector-borne disease offers the main benefit for hospitalization up to 100% of sum insured, which becomes payable upon positive diagnosis of the specific listed diseases where the hospitalization is needed. So this is extremely relevant cover during monsoons, as it covers many common diseases that we see in the metros, especially like dengue, malaria, chikungunya. And this is generally a benefit policy. What that means is the insurance benefit maximum up to the sum insured of the policy is paid lump sum to the policyholders upon diagnosis and doctor's advice of hospitalization, irrespective of the actual expenses. So it's a very relevant cover to have. And generally, we see all adults up to the age of 45 years, along with their dependent children, are covered in this policy. So this is not only a very relevant product, but also very affordable way to protect ourselves from the financial burden that comes with these diseases during monsoons.
All right. So the difference here is, Udayan, that it covers specific diseases, as opposed to the wide umbrella. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. So a typical vector-borne policy has named diseases. So recently, the regulator IRDA has introduced a standard product which covers 7 named diseases against which this policy offers protection. Kala Azar to Japanese to dengue fever to malaria to Zika virus. These are some of those, to name a few.
Okay. Now, I understand that the IRDAI has also introduced a standardized version of it's done so for almost all insurance policies, from health to life to even, personal accident. And I understand they've come out for a standardized policy for even vector. It's called Mashak Rakshak. So tell us a bit about that. How does it differ from, a non-standardized, more commonly found version of the vector insurance policy?
The standard Mashak Rakshak policy introduced by IRDA is a great product. It is comprehensive. It covers 7 diseases, and it has 2 main sections of coverages. First one is about hospitalization cover, where 100% of the sum insured is paid lump sum upon positive diagnosis of the disease in all the cases where it requires at least 72 hours of hospitalization. Secondly, it also has a diagnosis cover where 2% of the sum insured becomes payable immediately upon diagnosis. There are no deductibles in the product. It can be availed on individual or family floater basis. It has minimum sum insured of 10,000 rupees, and it goes as high as up to 2 lakh rupees. It's a typical 12-month policy, and it gets terminated upon payment of 100% of the benefit in the event of claim. Now, this, as I said, this is a very comprehensive product that we see in the market. At the same time, we also see variations of similar coverages in the market. These are the typical products that are introduced by each insurance company. And the variations that we see are typically with respect to the sum insured or the waiting period of the product. But personally, I feel the standard Mashak Rakshak policy is a great choice, as it offers comprehensive coverage and, more importantly, does away with all the hassles of comparing plans of different insurance companies and all the confusion that comes along with it. So it's a great product to have.
Okay. Now, many of us, and especially since the COVID wave has come, many of us have ensured that our general mediclaim or health insurance policy is up to date, well covered, etc. So my question is, Udayan, that if I have my general health insurance policy already on, do you still recommend I take out a Vector? Because like you're saying, right, that if I contract the disease, if I'm hospitalized, then I get 100% of the sum assured in my pocket. So would you still recommend a Vector policy, or do you think that my general mediclaim as well will cover me contracting diseases like dengue, malaria, any others that come along with the monsoon, like you mentioned?
Yeah, that's a great question. And having a mediclaim insurance is a great protection for all the hospitalization needs, and I recommend everyone should have it. However, the major difference here is mediclaim is a typical indemnity product. What essentially it does is it reimburses the actual cost incurred subject to the policy terms and conditions. Whereas the Vector-borne policy is a benefit product, wherein the insurance company pays 100% of the sum insured without reference to any actual spends. The reason why I feel both these products are relevant and they need to coexist, and we should not take a simple view of, if I have this, I don't need this, is because we all know our lifestyle, our daily routine gets impacted to some extent after every hospitalization, and at times we end up incurring additional cost. Just to give you a simple example, a person who used to travel using public transport immediately after the hospitalization, and this becomes an extra cost. So having a benefit policy gives you the freedom to use the money the way you want, and the reimbursement is not limited only to the actual amount that you have spent at the hospital, because we know that the additional cost after hospitalization continues on our daily routine as well. And it's not only about the medicines and the doctor consultation charges that we pay.
Okay. Well, it's become an essential product, of course, health insurance. It always was, but its importance has been amplified recently in this last one year when we faced a health crisis. And, you do have different kinds of insurance products available. Remember, a Vector would be a little more affordable as well for those who think that, at this point of time, I'm going through a cash crunch and, I can't shell out more money to renew my mediclaim or, to continue with my mediclaim. This is, a convenient option available. It's reasonable. And God forbid, if you do contract the disease, you get 100% of your sum assured. Okay, now I want to move from health and talk about damage to all our other assets, because the other common victim of heavy rains and torrential downpour is property as well as our motor vehicles. What would you recommend as good insurance products for these two asset classes, which again individuals have saved up all of their blood and sweat money and invested in, both for a motor vehicle and a property? And again, I'm going to combine the question. The IRDAI has standardized products for these two insurance policies as well. So if you could talk to us about that as well.
So while having an insurance is a first step towards protection, I feel having right and adequate coverage is what makes the insurance meaningful. The recent visuals coming from different parts of our country showing the havoc created by heavy rains are disturbing. We see vehicles floating, water getting into houses and shops, causing significant loss to property. And to my mind, what makes it worse is the fact that most of this loss is suffered by common people. These are small shopkeepers, small house owners, vehicle owners. This is the segment which generally do not actively buy insurance. Some of them who buy do not fully understand what is covered in insurance policy and what is not. And on the back of all of this, the underpenetration of insurance, the lack of awareness about coverage, I guess the bouquet of standard products introduced by IRDA is a clear advantage, where any homeowner, any shop owner can just ask for a standard Griha Raksha policy or a Sukshma Udyam policy without worrying about the coverages, as these products are curated in such a way that they offer a very comprehensive coverage against losses without having many fine prints or complexities attached to it. So here my recommendation is to go for these standard insurance products for homes, shops, and small businesses. Now, similar to property, our vehicles are also prone to losses due to heavy rains and water inundation and floods that we see. While only the third-party liability insurance is mandated by law, we now see most of the insurance companies offering a wide range of covers to make the protection comprehensive. So just to give you an example, repairing a damaged car engine is a costly affair, and anyone can imagine that, right? Unfortunately, any consequential loss to this engine because of flooding and water inundation is not fully covered in the basic insurance policy. And hence, there is an option available to buy engine protection as an add-on by paying a very nominal additional cost. Hence, as far as motor insurance is concerned, I would encourage people to think beyond the standard mandatory product and enhance their protection. I think it's important to ask questions, understand the coverage, and more importantly, not to get carried away just by lower premium quotes that we get in the market.
All right. Udayan, share with us some then simple tips on how to make claims for all the payments that one may have made when he or she were hospitalized that can enable quicker claim settlement as well.
Sure. So as we keep hearing, honesty is the best policy. So what I would recommend is, while making any insurance claim, be transparent and submit all the information to insurance company. It not only reduces the number of queries, but also improves the overall turnaround time of claim settlement, and thereby you get your money faster. Now, coming specifically to hospitalization claims under health insurance, there are, I think, three key things that can help quicker settlements. First is intimate your insurer immediately upon hospitalization. Secondly, please ensure that you preserve and produce all important documents at one go, such as doctor's prescription, all the medical test report, indoor hospital papers, discharge summary, and all the bills and payment receipts linked to it. And lastly, if there are any queries from insurance company, do not get puzzled. Those queries are just to understand your claim better. So please respond to them swiftly and, more importantly, truthfully. Personally, I have seen hospitalization claims getting settled within hours where all of these three conditions are met. So I would recommend these tips for faster settlement of claims which are emerging out of hospitalization.
Okay, folks, well, there you have it, everything that you need to know about insuring yourself from the torrential downpour that's lashing across the different, across the western part of the country. But, with the fury with which the rains have been coming, it could hit the rest of India as well. So it's important that you ensure that you're well prepared financially to take on any sort of uncertainty that the rain gods may bring about. Well, Udayan, we leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us today on The Money Show and, guiding our viewers through this entire insurance process.